10 horrifyingly high-profile typos. Anyone who has ever had their grammar corrected in an English lesson or when leaving a comment on a website can attest to how annoying it can be. It's a bad experience, for sure, but it seems that grammar police may have a point. No, if a cat video commentator forgets an apostrophe, the world won't end, but every so often, a circumstance arises where good spelling and grammar are crucial. For a split second, one well-written statement can determine the future of a brand, a business, or even an entire country. Unfortunately, we rarely recognize these times until we're dealing with the fallout. 10 disgustingly high-profile mistakes. 10 South Africa honors FIFA president. They made the decision to reciprocate when FIFA President Joseph Sepp Blatter granted South Africa the privilege of hosting the 2010 World Cup. In recognition of Blatter's generosity, the South African government gave him the Order of the Companions of O. Tambo Award. But instead of cheers, the world burst into chuckles when they revealed that they were giving him the award. Evidently, Blatter had a few passive-aggressive adversaries as a result of his leadership style. At some point, Wikipedia has been used by online vandals to edit his article in an artistic manner. Officials then used his name directly from the website for the prize despite having very little information on the man they were recognizing. That is how Joseph Sepp Blatter received a major prize from the South African government. In many parts of the world, Belend is slang for penis, and it is undoubtedly not the middle name of the FIFA president. 9 Obama's ironically error-prone communication advisor. Social networking has both benefits and drawbacks. People are connected in ways that our ancestors could never have imagined, but this also means that everything we do could be viewed by millions of people, including embarrassing errors. Dan Pfeiffer, senior advisor for strategy and communications for President Obama, was having a political discussion with a few of his Twitter followers on October 8, 2013. Pfeiffer planned to reply after a few back-and-forth tweets regarding political polarization by adding, "Also a much bigger issue on the right." Unfortunately, as he typed larger, his misplaced finger landed on its neighboring N key rather than the B key. It wasn't until after he had delivered it to his large audience that he realized the error, although he was quick to note that it was clearly a dreadful typo. However, it's not the most notable accomplishment in the career of the first black U.S. president's communications advisor. 8 Incorrect print spacing generates new words. If you've ever gone to school or spoken English, it's likely that you're familiar with Webster's dictionary. We take this enormous book at its value when it comes to writing since it has existed in some form for millennia. Many people assume that a word is only genuine if it appears in a dictionary, but the tale of one peculiar little noun may make them reconsider this assumption. A scientific term denoting density, Dord, appeared for the first time in Webster's New International Dictionary, 2nd edition, in 1934. Or at least that's what the Webster's employees wanted customers to think. It turns out that almost everyone involved in the study phase handled and misinterpreted a small index card with the marking D or D, cont/density. The intricate marking scheme intended to identify this as an acronym for density was a colossal failure, especially when it came to print spacing. In the end, D or D was thrown in with the dictionary's genuine terms and thrown together. It was a small piece of complete gibberish in a well-respected book, yet nobody noticed it for more than a decade. 7 Japanese executives accidentally give away their own company. It's true that the world of stock trading is complicated. Numerous numbers are being exchanged, people are buying and selling, and fortunes are being made and lost. In other words, it's the type of site where you want to check everything you write 4 times in total. Mizuho Securities, a Japanese company, unfortunately had to discover that the hard way. Mizuho officials planned to sell each share of their new firm JCOM company for 610,000 yen when it went public on December 15, 2005. However, they unintentionally sold 610,000 shares, 41 times what they actually held, for 1 yen each after making a possibly suicidal typo. They repeatedly attempted to cancel after realizing their mistake, but were essentially told that all sales were final on the stock exchange. They were so compelled to watch as they gave up their entire new firm for pennies on the dollar. To make matters worse, they were required to reimburse customers for the $225 million in extra shares that never existed. 6 Misplaced decimal ruins dinner time for decades. Everyone is aware of spinach's incredible health benefits. Our parents, schools, and physicians start telling us that it's a miraculous food as soon as we are born. One of the most well-known animated characters in the world, Popeye, uses it to grant himself true abilities. The lush green vegetable is pretty nearly worshipped in our society. But it's a scam. It's just regular food with a really healthy facade. The German chemist Erich von Wolff is responsible for the myth that spinach is the holiest of all vegetables. Wolff conducted study on the nutritional merits of various foods, including spinach, in 1870. He accidentally moved the decimal point for spinach one spot to the right when testing for iron levels. As a result, the vegetable's meager 3.5 grams were increased to an astounding 35 grams up until 1937, when the error was uncovered and efforts were made to change public perception. Wolff's gaffe was accepted as fact. But by that time, the fabled spinach-eating Popeye had cemented the vegetable's unjust reputation, and the rest, as they say, is history. 5 Vatican spelling mistakes for Jesus 6,200 times. The Vatican intended to make a grand, audacious gesture in 2013 to mark the election of Pope Francis. So they requested from the Italian Mint a number of gold, silver, and bronze medals. These tiny trinkets included a picture of Jesus and a Latin sentence that the new pope found especially motivating. For roughly 5 minutes, they were available for purchase at the Vatican Publishing House in St. Peter's Square. It appears that a few folks were dozing off at the Italian Mint changeover. The only word that got them was Jesus, despite the fact that the Latin phrase on the medals contained several otherworldly words. Thousands of holy tokens with the name of Christianity's most beloved figure spelled Lisus rolled off the production line. The fact that almost no one in the Vatican noticed is even more strange. The obvious error was prominently displayed when they went on sale, and 4 were bought before the batch was recalled. These 4 are expected to have a huge increase in value. For the internet is accidentally shut off by Google. Google is quite awesome. It swiftly and effectively connects us to the billions of websites available while shielding us from dangerous ones. Although one of the factors making Google the dominant service it is still far from flawless. Programmers' attention can occasionally get overstretched due to the work involved in policing the constant stream of fresh content on the internet. An illustration would be the morning of January 31st, 2009. One Google employee unintentionally added / as a dangerous site that would be blacklisted by Google when updating the list of hazardous websites. If you've spent any time online, you know that pretty much every website address in the world has a / in it. That implies that for roughly an hour, Google blocked access to every single website, bringing the entire internet to a grinding standstill. Visitors were turned away with a warning screen, and if they continued anyhow, a complete block page. Google quickly fixed the problem, but for a brief period, communication was decades behind. 3. A poorly written manual fries people with radiation. A communication breakdown is the absolute last thing you want while using cutting-edge medical technology. When misused, some of the devices we invent to treat the ill can actually make them worse. That covers devices like, example, a massive radiation gun. A machine from the 1980s called the Therac 25 used controlled radiation bursts to treat cancer patients. It goes without saying that radiation is exceedingly dangerous, thus the machine came with a program to minimize exposure to a minimum. A documentation was included with this program to make sure the user knew how to resolve any issues. But regrettably, it appears that the author of that instruction had no understanding of how communication works. Doctors completely misunderstood the meaningless word salad, therefore they mostly disregarded it. They simply made the decisions they felt were best when error signals appeared on the Therac 25. In the end, they exposed patients to radiation doses that were up to 100 times higher than those deemed safe. 3 people passed away, leaving us with a somber story on the value of writing abilities. 2 Garbled computer code darkens the East Coast. A computer-controlled civilization has both benefits and drawbacks. Sure, having machines handle the monotonous tasks makes life much simpler, but entrusting them with too much responsibility can be disastrous. One error in a computer's millions of lines of code is all it takes to render any system it's controlling entirely unusable. And on August 14, 2003, the electricity grid along the east coast of North America was that system. An Ohio power plant's XA-21 energy management system malfunctioned due to a missed character, which set off a chain of errors that spread to Canada and the northeastern United States. Within hours, more power plants started to malfunction, and entire cities, including New York City, started to lose power. In the end, more than 50 million people were left without infrastructure, communications, or power for around 7 hours. To make matters worse, if one worker at the power plant hadn't disregarded an alarm, the entire incident might have been prevented. The error alarm was turned off when the first bug showed up while it was fixed. The bug never acted up again since the alarm was never turned back on, therefore it was hidden until it was far too late. One NASA's $80 million hyphen. It is common practice for people to use phrases like, well, it isn't rocket science while attempting to describe something as simple. That's because rocket science is so difficult. There are a million calamities waiting to happen and a lot of complicated calculations to be made. Even a seemingly innocuous sign in an equation might really ruin things. Exactly this occurred on July 22, 1962. From Cape Canaveral, the Mariner 1 space probe had just taken off on its mission to Venus. However, it quickly became apparent that something was wrong after takeoff. The probe's rocket started to drift off track, sending it toward a crash landing that would also take place in a populated region. Officials at NASA had no choice but to send the probe's self-destruct signal, which destroyed it and dispersed its debris over a number of states. What went wrong, then? A careless programmer made a mistake when coding the spacecraft's guiding system. They failed to include a hyphen. An $80 million space mission that was practically doomed to failure before it had left the atmosphere due to a single missed dash. That's for now. We appreciate you for being here. View more our channel videos.